Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tom Clark over at TFC IV MMA. And as you can see, we're joined with a pretty special guest today, all the way from South Africa, Cameron Saaiman. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is all mine, man. Thank you so much for coming on. So, some big news for you over the last couple days. Got
Yeah.
announced you will be fighting on UFC 290 against Christian Rodriguez. I mean, this is a big fight. I know he called you out after his win against Raul Rosas, and I actually messaged you about it, and you said, I'd love this fight. So, kind of
Yeah.
walk us through, man. How'd the UFC make it? I mean, how early did they contact you after that? And how soon was the fight made?
Yeah, I think I was quite flattered. You must be doing something right if you're getting called out. So I was very happy to hear it. I got sent multiple messages on social media just saying like, listen, he just called you out, and that fight makes a lot of sense. He has a lot of hype now after beating someone that had a great hype going. So it's just at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation for me. I get to fight a guy that is very skilled, someone that has now a bit of a name, a backing, and I'm gonna be looking to get a finish. So it's absolutely amazing. Once he did the call outs, I actually messaged my manager and said, "Listen, I like this fight. Everyone liked it. The fans seem to like it as well, and I think the UFC agreed, so they got it done quite quickly."
There we go. Yeah, I think the fans are going to love it. It's going to be a very entertaining matchup. I mean, both you guys are pretty young. He's a couple years older than you. He's 25. You're 22. You're one of the youngest guys on the roster, and he's coming
Yeah.
off fighting the youngest guy on the roster. So you'll be much older than his last opponent. But I mean, this is your third fight in the UFC. You had your debut in December, so you've been very active. I mean, you fought in December, you fought in March. Now on another big card. I mean, this is the third big card they've put you on. So I mean, they're letting the eyes see you. I mean, what does a training camp look like? I know with travel involved and such. I mean, are you already in camp for this fight?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that's always quite funny when people ask me if I'm in camp, because it feels like I'm pretty much in camp the whole time. So I took off about 10 days after my last fight, and then I was back into full schedule. So we'll start tightening up everything. We knew we wanted to fight more or less July. We did not have a specific date in mind, but now that we do, now we can really just start honing in on training, the training load, the dieting, everything. So it's great to have a specific date to work towards. But training has been for the past few weeks been very consistent, and we'll just keep on with that momentum.
There we go. And are you looking to kind of keep up this activity of fighting 3 to 4 times a year, kind of throughout the end? I know you've been fighting with Dreykus on all of his cards so far, and I'm sure that's nice being there with your teammate. But he's about to have this title eliminator fight, so I don't know if he'll be fighting as often anymore. I mean, are you gonna stay fighting on the same cards as him, or do you think you'll keep this activity?
I definitely think he's at the point where he'll not be fighting as actively. So I'm going to look to continue this momentum. I'm very young, and I think that is one of my biggest assets. So just getting experience with every single fight, and if my body allows it, to continue fighting at the pace that we are currently. I've fought 5 or 6 times in the last year and a half. That's quite an active year. So I really want to look to continue this momentum. And at the end of the day, this is what I enjoy to do every single day. So if I can stay injury free, I can stay healthy, then I can continue to compete. And it's so much fun to be consistent, because I get to be on amazing cards like UFC 290, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on some big cards. I met you briefly at UFC 285, and I mean, the buzz around that card was wild. John was coming back after 3 years, and they gave you a willing dance partner, and you guys put on a very entertaining fight. So, like I said earlier, it seems the UFC thinks very highly of you, putting you on these big cards this early in your career. And speaking of Dreykus, I mean, how nice is it to be able to fight on these cards with him? I know he's a little bit older than you, but you guys have been training for quite a while together, it seems, over at Team CIT. So, I mean, just is it a nice thing having him there, getting ready with him, just going through fight week with someone else that you've been around so long?
Yeah, most definitely. I've been with the Team CIT and with Dricker since I was 14 years old. So,
Oh, wow.
you know, it's awesome to be able to experience everything around fighting and fight week, and the celebratory stuff afterwards with guys that you really enjoy your time with, even though we work together, but we spend a lot of time together outside the gym as well. So it's just getting to having the small family travel together is always awesome. And then obviously you have the amazing experience that Drickers brings to the table. And every single time we almost have our own systems when it comes to preparing for fights, but doing it together is also a lot easier, and it puts a lot of less stress on our coaches and staff that travel with us. So it's really awesome that we get to share another event like this on the same date. And it's also great for South African fans. They need to wake up quite early. So now they only have to do it once for two fighters, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are pretty much the two biggest stars in the UFC when it comes to South Africa. So you guys kind of have the whole country on your back, and I see it all the time on social media. I mean, the country really does show out for you. So that must be nice. I mean, being only 22 years old, but being one of the biggest ambassadors for your country in this space. I mean, just how much does that mean to you?
It means the absolute world to me. Since I was a small kid, I wanted to be in sports. I wanted to be someone that is recognized for doing sport full time, and being able to do this now. And I think 10, 11, 12-year-old Cameron did not think he'll be fighting, but it's definitely a massive honor. And we are a very proud sporting nation. So being able to fly that flag quite high in martial arts is an absolute honor. And I think you guys are going to it only scratches the surface of what our fans can do, because they're quite crazy. I love them to bits. So it's going to get better as we get better as well.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine if Drake is able to get this win in July, he's fighting for a title. I have no doubt in my mind you'll be working your way up. You'll be in the rankings soon. So I can only imagine how big the fan base is going to get. You guys have stayed very consistent with training in Africa. A lot of guys from other countries, they end up coming to the United States just because the majority of fights in the UFC are in America. I mean, when you have a fight like this, how soon before the fight do you make the trek to America? I know I've talked to a couple people where they say 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Some people even do a month. So, I mean, how early before the fights do you come to America?
Our general rule of thumb is 12 to 14 days beforehand, just to climatize. Majority of our camps, not most of our camp, we do in South Africa. We have amazing training partners. We have amazing coaching, amazing staff. So we really have everything we need here, and we are super proud to be able to do it from here. I think that is something that a lot of other guys cannot proudly say. We wake up here and it's fun doing it from Team CIT here in Pretoria. So it's awesome also getting to travel and getting to experience other cities, but we also enjoy coming back home. So I love South Africa. I love coming back here. So it's always great when we go 12 to 14 days before the event. We get climatized, we get focused. Going into fight week is absolutely amazing. There's no feeling like it. And then few days after the fight, if the swelling is down and the celebratory events are past us, then we head back home quite quickly.
There we go. Yeah. Always good to be back home, sleep in your own bed, all that kind of good stuff. Vegas is nice, but the hotels, I mean, they get old after a little bit.
Yeah.
So with Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, if you're not careful, you don't see the sun quite a lot, So it's comfortable staying in the hotel the whole time. So sometimes you need to go outside. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That was my first time out there when I went out for UFC 285. And I'm like, I see how people can stay in these casinos all day. They're massive. There's no windows. So
yeah,
they certainly, the time does fly in there. With your opponent, Christian, I mean, his last time out, he was a heavy underdog against Raul Rosas Jr. And I picked him to win that fight just because I thought his experience would pay off. And Raul was very, very raw to MMA. He used the grappling primarily in that fight. I mean, do you think he's going to try and use that game plan on you? Do you think there's any chance he even tries to stand with you based off what you've been able to do? Or do you think he's going to come in with a grappling heavy game plan for this fight?
Well, I that's where I agree with you as well. When that fight got announced, I immediately, called a few friends. I was like, "This is a bad matchup for Rosas." I respect Rodriguez a lot. I think he was heavily underestimated in that fight, and he proved that he got it done, and quite decisively. And I think coming into this fight, I would like to have a good stand-up fight. I say that every single time because I just enjoy that, and I think the fans enjoy it, and I think the chance of getting bonuses is better if we stand and trade. So he called me out on the Ariel Lawani show. He also mentioned he is actually a stand-up fighter. So if we can get a good stand-up scrap going, I would thoroughly enjoy that. But he's also very good overall, and I think at some stages he would like to use his grappling and his wrestling. So wherever the fight goes, it does not matter. We will be ready for anything.
Perfect, man. And yeah, that's where I think we saw it briefly in your first fight. You had to use the grappling, but I know your last fight out, it was a lot of standing and all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, ideal world. It's I believe July 8th is the card. UFC 290. It's your fight, man. How's it going to go? What's the prediction from the man himself?
I definitely think we can get this fight done within the 3 rounds. So I'm predicting a finish, and whether that's on the ground or on the feet, it's only time will tell. But I'm not going. I hate going to decision. It pains me. So I'm going to be looking for that finish for sure.
There we go. Yeah, I don't think many people like going to decision. As people always say, you don't get paid by the hour. You get that
Exactly.
show money, you get the win money. So you want to go in there and get it done quick. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on, Cameron. It's been an honor having you on my show. This is the best part about modern technology. You're in South Africa. I'm in North America. We're still able to make this work. Any
Yeah.
sponsors or any coaches, teammates you want to shout out?
Yeah, just shout out to Team CIT. I think we're doing something right here in South Africa. If anyone ever wants to come visit, everyone is more than welcome. South Africa is amazing. Team CIT is amazing. You'll have a fun time. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. I'm wishing you the best of luck. UFC 290, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers. Have a good night.
You as well. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.